got it.
Is this something that was rolled out?
Anything else?
Joe, how you doing?
She
All
just
right.
printed them.
On the run.
I did not email it because I haven't got it myself. That's the only copy,
Had someone
exactly.
come into my
She's
office,
getting online.
like, as I was trying to get out of the door.
Love it.
And somebody who's
Here's
pretty high up in the
the
company,
email
and
one
I
I
didn't feel
sent
so
you for
comfortable
revenue.
saying.
I gotta go.
So there is some discussion, changes and we can.
What did you just say, Denise, I'm
I'm
sorry, the one that you emailed is not accurate?
Just the revenue,
Oh, all right, that's,
So revenue is not accurate?
correct.
Okay, thank you.
There is a few here.
Thank you. Good luck, is she all right?
it's worth.
You might have played some of my circles.
But it is the second, Winter of the World? That was the last one, Winter of the World was the last one. Yeah. The new one, no, that's not. Pillars of the Earth. Pillars of the Earth, and this, the second one was, that was really.
Busy.
Bless
Busy.
you.
It is that time. Every night.
All right.
Just a point of order, Bob Megan is on his way, I understand. I'm gonna sit in for him until he
Okay.
arrives.
Thanks, Brian.
Peter Lane Pieces is on his way too, he said.
All right, well, it's about 6:30, close enough. We'll call the meeting to order. Just quick roll call, I think Suzanne I saw, Denise,
Here?
Angela,
Here.
Emily,
Here.
Paul, Lynn, Charlie, here, the other Charlie.
Yeah.
Joe,
Here.
Peter's coming, Robert's coming, and I'm here, so. So we have a couple people who are on their way, but no absences or excuse absences. I forwarded the meetings from the last two meetings. I apologize, the one from May took a while to get out, but I think that was last weekend. Did everybody get a chance to see those? Shall we have a motion to accept from anybody?
Just one question before you take the motion.
Yeah.
Since I missed it, but I'm assuming it took place, the minute should reflect that Lynn Spring was elected. They don't, they say it was nominated in seconded.
Okay, good point.
And Bob Meegan's name is misspelled sort of, it goes either G or H in various places.
Oh, okay.
So, correction of last name. And I think under executive office, there was a roll call vote, and I think the SQs is really me, so that should be S Heward.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So we're looking at the notes from
This is from
July
July.
24th?
Yes.
Okay.
And I had a question about the May, something on the May agenda, but we can come to
Yeah,
that at the end.
let's finish the July one.
Business.
Any notes we can?
Yeah, I have a couple on July. There, in the minutes, there were a couple points brought up about, people were asking for information and should be follow-up on those. What is the process for that? Is that something that gets reported at the meeting? I mean, as an example, on the highway, who asked that? Suzanne asked a question. There were some questions on the also by myself on on whether the amount collected and for the demo hauling, it kind of represents for what the costs were. So I guess, and then, I guess, how do we follow up with those? What's the procedure? Should people be emailing to the group saying, here's the answer to that, or should they be coming to the next
It
meeting?
should come to the next meeting, and when we ask for things, it should be requested by the entire committee. So sometimes people will say, oh, what about this thing, or what about that thing?
Okay,
And I think Charlie had a question a while ago, we made a motion to request that the
Fire department. I got a correction on that.
Fire
too.
department, right?
yeah, the fire department, but it'll be reported back as the select board, I believe. So if we had a question for the select board, it has to be sort of a motion and an agreed, sort of the budget committee is asking for this piece of information. I don't recall if we did that specifically.
no, I mean, other than the one that Charles
Just
brought
mine.
up, the other ones weren't,
Yeah,
so I
I
wasn't
think
sure about.
if we want to ask the select board to come back and provide information, we need to ask it as a committee. That's my understanding, at least of the process.
So with the items in that, in the 20 meetings of the 24th, or do people who ask those questions feel that you still want those answers? I mean, somebody brought them up.
Right.
I might get my answer looking at the report. I asked
Okay.
about quarterly versus monthly
Yeah.
expenses, that was one question that I had, and I may just get that answer.
Did you say
at the
other
budget.
question?
On the highway, on page, I guess, 3, the first bullet.
You asked about increasing the budget for Ladbray Regional to next year.
Yes, that really wasn't a question. The question is under highway, about the retirement system? Or-
Yes, and then
Yeah, I mean, so I-
Denise said she'll find out and get back to
So in that
everyone.
particular case, I just assumed that it was time, I mean, it was just, so,
Okay.
yeah.
Did I look through that, or sorry? Do we still need to have that in highway
Well, we
one?
can see what it's like.
Okay, and if
it
it
was-
still is, then I will, yeah,
we can figure it
okay,
out.
sounds good. Um, oh, that's one.
Was other questions?
Yeah, and I guess, and again, it goes, some of it is probably educational on my part. When we were talking about the school budget, I had made a comment about the percentage of, in the budget line between the staff salaries and then the benefit allocation for those staffs. And I made a comment that I thought those numbers were kind of high relative to what I've seen in the past. So in that case, it's more of an education for me. You know, you see the salary of, let's say, 100,000, and then the benefits of 40,000. I don't know, that's, most people have benefits of maybe a 20%, 25%. So I was curious, just as an understanding of the budget numbers, what makes up that benefit category across the different sections of the staffing for the school. So, I don't know, should I mean, so in that kind of question, it's I'm the only one who wanted to know. I mean, I'm willing to work with somebody offline and just so I understand it, but I didn't know how official it needed to be within the process.
I think that seems like an appropriate way to answer a question like that.
Okay.
If it's a thing that we want the select board to go back and research or come back, then as a group, we should be asking it, but those ones seem like that can be a one-on-one
I
conversation.
did intend to
No,
answer
that's
that
fine.
at the last meeting and totally forgot about it, but I do have your answer.
Okay,
That was a question from July 24th.
yes, yeah. Then I'm all set.
Any other questions on July 24th meeting? So were there a couple of edits? One to add Lynn Spring as being elected. The other one is to correct Bob Meegan's name spelling, if I can say it right.
In mine,
Yours.
in mine.
And Suzanne's. Any other corrections that need to be made? And maybe a motion to accept that with assuming the corrections will be made.
We accept it
I'll
as
second.
corrected.
Charlie moves to accept, and Paul seconds. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Sounds like the July 24th meetings are accepted with the minor edits that we just discussed. So moving to the May, sorry, I'm not as organized because I came straight from work. With the May meeting, do we have any, Joe, you mentioned a question or comment?
Not from the May, they were all in July.
I have a question, and that, it's sort of in line with what Joe asked earlier. Item number 5 on this report, Wallingford Budget Committee guidelines and the discussion about whether to comply with our guidelines or there's some state guidelines. And I didn't know if that had been resolved I didn't make it to that meeting, so I didn't know if there were follow-up to happen for this. So there was a consensus among the committee that adoption of the guidelines should be tabled for the time being. Tabled means we're not gonna come back to it
Right.
permanently.
That's what I intended. I don't know if I used the right terminology, but yeah.
Okay.
Because a lot of them duplicate or are redundant with the guidelines that are put out by the New Hampshire Municipal Association. I think, and then also in the statute. So, and there are several things in there that are not necessarily consistent with the statutes and what the authority of the budget committee is. So it just made sense. I think if you read the New Hampshire Municipal Association guidance, it has pretty much everything you need, and we didn't need to have that kind of guidance here. In addition, we wouldn't be able to do that to sort of to dictate to the next budget committee, so it'd be something you have to adopt every year. And so we decided, the
Okay.
consensus was,
Fills out my knowledge of the meeting, I missed that.
yeah, no
That's
problem.
good.
So any other questions or comments on the minutes from?
I do.
the meeting? Charlie?
Yes, on my motion, on the points and how you earn points, I also asked for 3 months sample of pay, so we could see how that worked, and that was in the motion. Could you add that?
Yes. So basically, and I think that's a good, it's one thing to have the formula, it's also nice to have sort of an idea of how it was paid out.
Yeah.
And I thought the same thing would be helpful.
It'll help me on judging their salary.
Right.
And also, could we have that before November 6th when the fire comes? They come to meet the budget.
When the fire chief comes to present his budget, yeah.
Yes.
What exactly do you want?
I want the points, how you earn the points, and a 3-month sample of their pay. Any month, the 3 months is good.
And I think we agreed as a
Yes, it was
committee
voted on.
that we all wanted,
That was the only thing that wasn't put in.
yeah. I knew there was something more there as I was writing it up, but I
Not a problem.
appreciate that.
Thank you.
Sorry, Paul, did you have a question?
It was May 6th was the meeting.
May 6th. Any other questions or comments on the May 6th minutes? A motion
Move
to,
to accept them as revised.
Second.
motion from Emily, second from Angela. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. The minutes are accepted as revised by the edits that Charlie brought up. I wanted to take a second, the next item I just had on the agenda was just to remind everybody of the meeting schedule. I think everybody has it, nothing has changed. Next week, we start with, I think it's the Highway Department and the CIP presentation. I have to be somewhere else next week, so Suzanne will cover the meeting. Suzanne already agreed. Not signing her up now. Suzanne?
Well, before we go, it's sort of like additional items at the end, if we could just kind of have a review of how we expect these things to go next week, it might help me and all of us to make sure that we're on target with what we're supposed to be doing with this, with the reviews. In other words, are we supposed to vote, is there any official action, are we just listening, or, asking questions?
Sure, I think, and this is open for discussion, but the way it has been done in the past, and obviously,
Yeah,
At least it
we
was
missed
the way it was
one-
done last
we
year,
did
I
miss
can say.
one year, so.
we typically listen and ask questions during the presentations, and then we'll meet together to deliberate over what we think about the budgets that have been up. And the reason I think we're starting earlier now is that we have some time to then go back.
So there's no official action that we need to take next week on those budgets?
No, I think we could, the official actions that we could take is we could decide to ask certain questions to follow up.
But, okay.
But there's no, we're not
expected-
voting or anything on it at that point.
But that's the time for us to ask the department head right then, where we got them there, any questions we got about their budgets.
Right. But it's not, we're not voting on it at that
But
point.
there's
It's
no
for-
voting.
It's for deliberation, for consideration.
General information
Thank you, John.
for the whole budget.
So it's okay to say, well, your number for this particular item was such and such, 2020, it's gonna be what it was last year plus 10%, explain what that increase is? That
Yeah,
kind of
that
stuff.
kind of, that's the kind of discussion.
At our school board meeting on Thursday, we discussed our presentation to the budget committee, which is on our schedule for December 4th, and we were wondering if we could change that to the 18th. And the reason for that is because our meeting is on the second Thursday. We're hoping to have that time to finalize the budget, otherwise we're gonna have to get an extra meeting, which it would be end of the earth, but it would be very convenient if we could.
So, school's on the 4th, and you're looking for the 11th,
The 18th we prefer.
18th.
Yeah, let me just double check the date
Yeah, the 18th is a
of
Wednesday.
our,
Because I think as we have it right now, we were looking to be meeting on the 11th to go over, to finalize the budget before public hearing. So that pushes us out. The 18th was when we were planning, I think, on having, presenting the public hearing based on the schedule. So that pushes us out a couple weeks.
I'm sorry, John, the 18th was for a public hearing?
It says notice, oh, I'm sorry, that's the notice.
No, that's our second final, 2 nights for the to finalize the budget. The 11th and the 18th.
Gotcha, sorry.
So I'm sorry, so we expected to have heard all of the budgets by the 11th, so that we could have 2 meetings with deliberations.
That's correct.
By the 4th,
By the
4th.
Yeah,
The
4th would
11th
be
and the
the
18th
4th would be the
finalized.
last presentation, and then by the 11th would be
The
our
first,
first meeting to deliberate, and then we have another meeting the week after, the 18th, to finalize, or hopefully finalize. As we know, last year, we had a few extra meetings, but, so,
So our meeting will be on the 12th.
Are you able to make it 4?
Excuse me?
it doesn't sound like it is what,
Well, we can certainly try. We were just, it seems to be a lot earlier than it was last year, is that?
Yeah.
We did set this in April.
I'm aware. It does say draft, however, at the top of the sheet, and so at our meeting on Thursday, the question was posed, is there ability to have some, or can we have some flexibility? We were quite flexible last year, moving hours to switch it with the town, so that the town could have some extra time to build their budget, and we were hoping maybe we could, get some leniency and flexibility from the board this year.
yeah, what I'm wondering is maybe we could still have that first meeting and discuss all the other budgets that have been presented, and then maybe, I don't know, when we push, I'd have to look at the calendar and see where we are with holidays and all of that, but,
So in fact, the school board is the last, you do have the last slot. What you're saying is it's not last enough.
yeah, and we did get moved up this year because we got in such a crunch last year with SB 2.
Yeah.
And so that was the goal was to try and
Well, I'm happy to bring it back to the school board and say everything's been pushed up significantly this year because of SB two for the town, and,
But
we'll
we
see
might be able
if
to,
we can get something.
I'd be willing, I don't know if the whole committee feels comfortable with that, but I think there might be some flexibility that we could do a review of the other, in our first deliberation session. And we can also, I don't know where the slots are, because I'm not looking at a calendar, but we might have other,
4/11/18. So if the 18th is the very last time
Yeah.
that we're meeting, so would it be, do the 11th?
Yeah, so our board meeting is supposed to be the 12th. So maybe we can either change our board meeting to the first Thursday of that December, and if we could get the 11th, as opposed to adding a special meeting, that would be,
maybe on the 4th, we could do the first review of all the other budgets.
I'm sorry?
Maybe on the 4th, which is when
Yeah,
we
switch
would have
it
had the school board
Yeah,
meeting, we can then deliberate over all the other
Yes,
department
I
budgets.
mean, you could easily compromise and get them to finish. You guys can put them forward, and we do
You just have to make sure that they have an entire evening to them, because it's a
Exactly.
long meeting,
Yeah, so,
put
so,
everything together.
so we would, the 11th would just, or an 11th, ideally, maybe it's later if you guys can't do it, but ideally, if we moved it to the 11th, that would just be the presentation of the school board. It wouldn't be a deliberation session or review of other.
So we would still have our both deliberative sessions, so it's deliberative session 1, school board, or school district deliberative session number 2.
Right, that's what I'm thinking as a possible,
See, I look back in the records, and the school board started their budget in October, their meetings. And then they did one in October, November, then they were ready. This year, they didn't do it in October. That's the problem. It's not that because we moved this up, it's because they didn't have any budget hearings on their budget in
I
October.
don't think we have to blame
No,
anybody
no,
for
I'm just
for
saying,
anything.
that's the reason why it's behind.
I don't know that, but I would, Emily, ask that
Yeah,
if you could
if they
take
could move it to
back
the
to the
11th.
school board, that this is going to be, this is how, I think how things are gonna be going forward, is that we're probably gonna wanna do the deliberative sessions before the end of the calendar year,
right,
so.
so we're not so
there's-
constrained at the
Yeah.
other side.
yeah, sure. We can do that. No problem. One other thing to just point out about the schedule is that our deliberative session is on the calendar for January 4th, with a snow date of the 7th. And on this schedule, it is, I saw it here earlier.
Deliberative session for
For the school, oh wait,
the school was, is that February?
it says,
I have for the school February 1st on the version I'm looking at.
I have a public hearing on the 11th of January for the school.
I have it first as the deliberative session, too.
yes, that's what I have too, on this schedule.
So the public
Let
hearing,
me make sure that I have, maybe it's the public hearing I'm thinking about, let me just make sure of that.
So do you have those school twice, the first and then the 8th, so let's do whatever it is. I have them.
I have. First deliberative session is school, and then the second one is the town, right?
Well,
This is
Town,
scheduled.
yeah, so the 8th is the town.
the 8th is the.
Susan got printed out,
And,
gave us all.
And then in January, the 2 public hearings.
okay. So,
so are
Confused?
we trying to resolve something in particular here, or we're gonna look at
I'll
trying to?
make sure we have it.
And we're trying to shift the dates if we can. But I think this is something we can come come back to.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I'm fine, yes, as long as, are we currently clear that the public hearings right now are January 11th and 18th?
December, but anyway.
January. For public hearing and then the SB2 deliberative session,
The 1st and the 8th of February,
right,
and that's what I have as date, so as long as that's the current one,
yeah,
that's fine.
I'm looking at the schedule, you're looking at your calendar,
Yeah,
so
yes.
they seem to match.
Okay,
Good.
I have our schedule in front of me now. So our board meeting is December 12th. Public budget and bond hearings, January 4th. Public budget and bond hearings. So the public hearing would be the 4th, with the snow date on the 7th. Deliberative session, February 4th, with the snow date of February 8th.
So there's a different date for the public hearing, right?
Yeah.
Right,
So
so,
what is it?
Well, it's our meeting, it's January 4th.
January 4th, that's what I have.
And the snow date would be January 7th. And then deliberative session is February 4th,
Yeah.
with a snow date of February 8th.
are you catching all that?
Yeah. I think I got it.
Okay, so we need to update the schedule to match what the school board's schedule is.
Yes.
Okay. Any other, all I really want to do is point out that we're starting the season of budgeting. I'm glad these points came up, because that would have been
A mess.
a mess later on, so. Any other questions or discussion about the schedule? All right. Then we can move on to the next item, which is,
So will the revision, will the revised schedule, clarity on the schedule be part of the minutes that will come out? So you won't send a new
we
schedule?
can probably update the schedule as well, just so that
That'd be
we've got
terrific.
one thing that we're looking at,
I'm just-
once we resolve.
That's
And
right.
maybe,
I have two different versions. Proposed and draft.
I think there was a meeting when we
That would be great.
circulated the final one, but, or we, remember we asked for final questions and had resolved it, but, it's no problem. We can update it and recirculate it, no problem. Okay, so are we ready to move on to the next item? And that would be the third quarter town budget review. And that Denise to sort of give a presentation, and we can then ask our specific questions after that. If you have something you wanted to preface it with, Denise?
Well, I kind of go section to section.
You wanna just
but
go through the
whatever.
sections?
Yeah, I mean,
That's
it makes
fine.
it easier than going backwards. So bottom line is, we're in fairly good shape, at 69%. We had, some unforeseen issues in the executive office. The one of them that I'm looking at would be line 15, IT hardware and software and services. We had unexpectedly had to replace both the town clerk and the town tax collector's computers, as well as buying a new printer for the DMV stuff that they have to do there. So we are like pretty much spent out on that, but I don't see anything that we have to do in this line anyway going forward. But it's just alarming when you see that it's all spent, but it was kind of a lot of, and then we had to buy all new Microsoft licenses as well. So, yeah, so that, that's kind of where, that's up to 99, but in the bottom line of the picture, it's 56%. Also, you don't see it here, but we had another unfortunate situation with the police cruiser. Was supposed to, it was $12,000.
Yes.
Was supposed to come out of CIP. And the way the warrant was written, it had mentioned there was an escape clause. So we are not allowed, according to the Department of State, we are not allowed to use the $12,000 through CIP. So it will be coming out of contingency, but not coming out of, we can't, the only thing that we can do in contingency, which was part of, is the equipment that's going on the vehicle. But because it's a lease and there's an escape clause, you can't use CIP money there. So, but we can use it for the equipment because that's not part of the lease.
So is that gonna be true for all of the leases going forward?
Well, you just won't have an escape clause, you'll have to not be able to do that. Breaking your lease is, you can't, because you're breaking if you broke a lease, then you're taking money out of the CIP that you shouldn't have because you broke the lease.
Can you explain what an escape clause is? I'm sorry.
I don't have I shouldn't have the right terminology, what it's just saying that you can get out of the lease is bottom line. So we signed documentation that we were gonna take the lease,
Yeah.
but we have the right to
To
back
get
out
out.
of it.
I see.
So it's because, do you mind? It's because, John, that it's the same rationale about a current board cannot tie the hands of future boards. And so if you've got a
So you get in a lease, you
Yeah,
have
so
to
you-
approve
so-
that lease every year.
Yes, if you don't do that, you can still do it, but it has to go to town as a separate warrant article and with a, I don't know, 2/3,
3/5.
3/5.
Okay.
So you do want
So
to
the
write
mechanism to do it, it's just.
Yeah,
gotta do
but
it
if
differently.
you have escape clauses, then you
Cannot use CIP,
CIP.
right.
It's like if you buy a house, you got 3 days to change your mind.
Yeah,
That's an escape clause.
yeah. So, but we can use the money for the equipment.
Why,
Um,
why did we lease rather than purchase? Because police vehicles have virtually no return.
Well, because it's less expensive at the time of doing it. I mean, you put the payments out for the 2 or 3 years or whatever the lease is for, so it's less money. Plus, this time he's getting 2 vehicles.
Yeah, there was, that was part of the presentation during
Right.
the budget hearing, budget
But it's less
deliberations last
money
year.
every year.
It's, pardon?
It's less money every year. I mean, the vehicle's not less money, but the payment out is less money each year.
What is there a residual at the end of the lease on that, which normally is with leased vehicles?
We own it,
We own the vehicle.
yes,
So we lease it for 3 years,
or whatever the conditions is.
and then we own it.
Yes.
So if we're gonna get the vehicle, it should last 3 years anyhow.
Oh, yeah, oh,
And
yeah.
the equipment should be able to be transferred even if we buy a new vehicle.
That's if you buy a vehicle, it's the same vehicle you have, because when we were getting rid of the sedan, you can't put that stuff on the Explorers or whatever, the SUV that they have now. So it depends what kind of a vehicle. They now tend to stay with all of the SUVs versus having the sedans,
Well, it makes more sense,
yes. But,
substantially more
yeah,
sense.
but yeah, they do their best to use up every piece of equipment once the vehicle is gone to the new vehicle, but there has been things that we haven't been able to do.
Any of the big equipment?
No,
like cars, that
no,
sort
I
of
mean,
thing?
most of the time we know, but it was a surprise, I forget what it was, that we had to buy something. Can't remember, it was a piece of equipment that, it wasn't a huge amount of money, but it was something that they thought was gonna be able to work and it didn't. But they do make every effort to use what's in there, as long as it's in shape that it can be used.
Just curious, most PDs do not lease vehicles, most of them purchase them, because at 100,000 miles, those vehicles are useless. and the
I think
returns-
we're veering a little off. I mean, it's interesting, and we did have the whole explanation from the.
Well, see, the reason why is at one time, one of the new vehicles got in an accident,
Correct.
and it put all the extra miles on the other vehicles, so they were wearing out. So the best way the chief came up with was to get 2 leased vehicles and try to get the miles down on all the vehicles.
So Suzanne, I'm sorry,
Denise.
Denise, in relation to what you just explained, is that line 24 when you said contingency, is that?
Yeah, the $12,000, it isn't there right now, but it is going to be, I'm just I'm just giving you an
The
FYI,
hit is 12,000 or more?
12,000. It will be, the 12,000 will be coming out, the rest of it is coming through CIP.
Okay, so 12.
Yeah.
When I was looking at this, I said, oh, great, the board hasn't had to use contingency.
We said that
What a
too.
wonderful
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Yay.
Almost made it.
Yeah.
Almost made it.
Yeah,
Finish
yeah,
line.
exactly. So, it's just an FYI, the next time you see it, it's gonna be there. But we'll learn from this mistake. or this
So what was the
information,
total, 12,000 coming from contingency and then what coming from the CIP?
whatever the balance was, I don't have that information, because that was already planned to be out of the CIP. Okay, is there any other questions on the executive office? Again, we're pretty in good shape.
What would be so far over on the reimbursable?
That is reimbursable expenses, so we need to readjust our budget. I think there were some things that we weren't expecting to have it, but we are getting reimbursed for it, so it's kind of a wash. Anybody else? Okay. Town clerk, the emergency registrations, we're pretty much on target on that as well. There's no more elections, so those categories won't be having any more hit to that. Any questions on that? All right. Financial administration. The audit is done, you'll see it is at 99%, so that is complete, so you won't have any more hit on that.
Did they find any problems in
I
the audit?
haven't got the report yet
Okay.
myself, but I don't think so. I
Good.
don't think there was anything that we weren't having to be notified of.
I do have a question for next year's budgeting.
Mhm.
So I see that we're right up against the budget, with the expenses right up against the budget. Were there any special audits done this year, or was this just the standard audit?
It was the standard audit.
So are you thinking of building in, a little bit of a buffer in case, in case somebody, because when someone leaves during certain positions, not everybody, but the treasurer or the town clerk, whatever.
Yeah, there has to
you need
be
a special-
a special audit. I'll make a note of that.
So we, we
prepare.
did try at some point to give ourselves a little bit of room in order to accommodate that, but, there's contingency, which is really made for
Yeah,
things like this, so.
yeah.
It's just an observation comment.
Yep. I will talk to them about that. Mapping and appraisal is 42%, there's no issues in our concerns for us. Personnel administration, the one thing that really stands out is background checks. And that was for our new town employee check, rec employees, and the new police officers that we hired, which were 2 of them. So it was unexpected because we didn't know we had to hire, well, we thought we'd get more returning people for rec, and we had to do more backup checks on those. So, any questions on that?
How about the health insurance, is that good news, or is there a
Um,
change?
Yeah, there wasn't, we predicted possibly there was going to be some changes in policy and and people taking
Oh,
something.
coverage?
Yes, and so
Oh, okay.
it didn't, we had a little buffer there anticipating something, and it didn't happen this year. So, yeah, it wasn't a rate change or anything, it was,
Coverage.
we were kind of being a little proactive on that.
Can I pause for a minute, question?
Sorry.
Probably should know your code system, but what do the yellow highlights mean? I see what the
Oh,
blue means.
don't, I think that's Caroline, I gotta talk to her about that.
Oh, okay, so
Yeah,
there's
I
no
think the
special
historical in there
Yeah.
is kind of there.
On there, I think when she does it, she highlights it, and I think
For
it's
attention.
misleading for her, and
Yeah.
yes,
Got
so.
it.
On
So-
the, sorry, real quick, on the paycheck service being 95%, is it like a contract with the paychecks, like is that a surprise that it would be so far over?
Well, I don't know if, the only one, well, it's a service that we provide to do our payroll. Our department gets paid quarterly, so it depends how many firemen or checks are cut, so that could flex a little bit depending on how many are there on that quarter. We didn't have any overlap on figures though that I'm,
Some paychecks give a new contract like in July, so if there's an increase, it's gonna show up in July.
I'm not aware that they did, I
That's what I
can ask.
remember.
Okay, I can ask that question, I'm not sure. So if you're saying if there was an increase, it
It
would
could
be,
have been an increase in, as well as.
I'll check on that and get
I
back to
think
everyone.
Didn't we hear in the first quarter that there was something in with the W-2s that had to be redone, and there's an expense? Am I making that up, or is this another year that?
I'm not sure that would be under
Which is
paychecks,
quite
though.
possible.
It might have been under another line, we had yeah,
Is the question that, just so I'm following, we're at the paycheck service line 58, is that right?
yes,
Yeah.
And we're
yeah,
at 95%, and the question is why are we at 95%
Yeah.
when we're at the third quarter?
right.
Essentially, and it sounds like we're not quite sure exactly
Nope, I'm
the
gonna
answer to
get,
that, but that's,
I'll get an answer for everyone.
I don't think we need to have a motion to ask for that question.
No.
Not unless I volunteer to do that for y'all.
Great.
Okay,
perfect.
I'll just do
That's
it, all right. Because I didn't catch that one, so thank you for doing that. But anyway, bottom line in that category, we're at 50%, so we're doing good. Planning and zoning, 54%. I don't see anything that was,
Secretarial services are, but they're small,
well, we
they're
have
small
a lot of
amounts.
zoning issues right now, so it's probably more than that was budgeted on the minutes taking, because we've got a lot to do.
Is the planning consultant not working for us, or when there aren't any expenses there?
We have a change in the planning, wait a minute, do I have this right?
In your line 69?
Yes, Tom Clark is gonna take over that position, and, can't give her name,
Krebs?
no, he's gone.
Let's go.
Krebs is gone.
Yes, yes, a woman, there was an announcement put out, and I can't think of her name, but she's gonna do,
Yeah, there's
some
two
of
of
the
'em.
planning, and Tom are gonna do some as well, and replace Krebs. They're both gonna be doing just a small amount of hours a month.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
It will still come out of this line
Yep.
when it happens, it won't come out of Tom's other line.
That's-
You'll see it here.
Yes,
And what confused me on that was also in June, there was 1040 in that account for planning consultant, and now there's 0.
because I believe she might have moved it to Tom's, where's Tom's,
And I looked back in June and there was 1040
It's
on
on
that account.
172.
172, didn't you see an increase on that? 172,
It's a
building
little high.
inspector. I'm gonna have to ask Caroline, I know she moved some of the money to go to the right categories now that he's taking on these other duties. So she would have, because we're not having that job anymore, so to say, she was moving it into the right categories, but I will ask that. Where is the money? Okay,
Just for general note, if she's gonna move it, could she put it in the notes to help us out?
well, I don't know,
Just a suggestion.
I'll ask. It's more helping me out.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I'm not working against you.
No, I know. Anyway, but I'll get back to you, but again, we're below where
Yeah.
we should
Oh,
be.
yeah, numbers are great.
So, government buildings, let's see. We have pretty good on the, most of them, I'm not really concerned, too much about, heat and electricity. Did I tell you that we signed a contract with, PSNH to have the lights changed in the fire station and the highway barn? Did I mention that to you guys the last
We
time?
thought that was coming.
It is,
It was coming.
we signed a contract, and it's supposed to happen any day, but that's what they've been saying for a month now, but, she's gonna call them and put some fire under them, but we've decided to do the highway barn and the fire station this year, because we had some money left within our, accounts, and if they can get it done and we have some money, we want to do the town hall as well. We also have the quote on that, but we haven't signed a contract on that yet.
And that's coming out of operating budget.
Yes, yep. Yeah, we didn't take the loan program, we took it coming right out of the budget.
And that was, we're doing the, you see the highway garage?
The highway, the transfer station, and the fire station. Fire station had some problems already, so they were the first priority because they had some things that needed to replace some lighting and they couldn't because they were too obsolete. So, and then the next two smallest ones would be highway and transfer. And so we're gonna see how that comes out and everyone's happy with it, and then we're gonna look at this building. We got a quote on it already, so we have our numbers, we just wanna wait a little longer to see where the budget,
Does that have a line number?
What's that?
Number, or,
what the project?
yes.
No, I think it's probably gonna, we haven't done it yet, so it isn't in here. So I'm not sure, we've approved it, but it hasn't happened yet, so we're not paying anything until it does.
And it was
I'm
not.
gonna find out where she's gonna put that though, okay? Yeah, or even electricity, yeah. All right, so I will have an answer on that as well. Cemeteries, I think they did, they did an amazing job, they were a little higher to get the, mowing company, but I think they did an awesome job, we were extremely happy with what the cemetery, how the cemeteries look this year and stuff, so, but we're right on target, you know, but it's definitely, been much better. Regional Association at 80, that is a one-time payment, so we're there, we're all set there. Police Department, overtime is due to, a lot to do with the officers that left and having to have shifts covered, and so now we are full staffed, and our last hire is now completely out of the academy and doing his, car riding with a field, well, there's a name for it, with either, you know, a full-time officer. So we're in much, much better shape, employees for our police department right now, so.
Also, just as a point of information, if I had added up, but I thought I had put it right in, the salaries, all the salary budget lines, and all the expense lines, even though overtime is over on that line, all the police salaries are still, I think it was like 60-some-odd%.
Yeah.
So there's not an overall issue.
We did also, and I don't have the details with me tonight, but we did have a meeting with the police chief, and we did do some increases, some officers due to their salary being so below the market level, so
Effective this calendar year.
it was effective when it happened, yep, so it is part of this, but because there was so many, the positions that left us for the high ranking positions, so there was some funds there that we were able to do it without affecting the budget, which we decided that we would do that. I can have more information, or of how much that cost us. Let me see. Go to the next page, if there's no other questions on that page. The mileage, you're gonna see the mileage is 343%. That is because we give mileage back and forth from the academy. So that was an unexpected expense at the time of budgeting, and when they come home on the weekends or when they have time to come home, they do get mileage to go back and forth. So that is why that one is high. Let's see. Everything else I think is really pretty much on target. If anybody has any questions on police. No?
Sounds like we're good.
Good? Okay. Fire department. Let's see. Dispatch, is 106%, their rates went up after the budget was approved, and so that is reflected there, 106%. That is all it's going to be though, that's one time. Let's see. Training. I know that the training is, Mark has come in, he's got some people that are new, and he's sending them to the firefighter one training, so that is, I think that we're probably covered on most of that. I think we're still gonna stay under that number, but there's 2 or 3 of them that are going to the firefighter one and two, and there's a couple other ones that they're doing. Let's see, equipment, I don't see anything,
On 153,
what is it?
153
Equipment?
radios. I thought 2 radios were supposed to come out of this account.
He hasn't got them yet. He only got the ones, it was the warrant one, right?
Yeah.
He's gotten those, but he was kind of waiting to see where he was in his budget, but we talked about that.
So how many radios did he end up getting?
I don't remember. It was whatever, he spent the money that was there. I don't remember, because he had to put some in trucks as well as hand ones. I can find out how many.
Because I think it was 15 total, 13 out of the set and 2 out of here, if I remember right.
But I think those were, there was some of it, I'm not sure they were all gonna be portables though, because I
No, it
think
was
he,
portable.
I know, but I think he needed some in the truck.
Mhm.
So they may have gotten, I don't know if they had
Okay.
other money for that, somewhere else, but I will ask how many he got.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I think the total we wanted was 15 overall.
Right,
So
right.
we think we have what?
I don't know, I
Oh,
have
we
to
don't
ask.
remember, like 10 or 12 or something like that, so we're close.
I think the ones that were in the budget here versus the one that was on the warrant article, those haven't been purchased yet. But the other, he did get an allotment, but I can't remember how many it was, so I'll find that out for you guys. Mutual aid, 100%, it's a one-time payment, so that's done. And again, he's at 63%, so he's right on target. Building inspector, he did get some increased hours due to some of the things that were happening in town, that we needed him to be involved in, so we did, authorize him to have more hours during this time. Any questions?
192, sand and gravel.
Ain't got there yet.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you on,
I'm on building inspector.
sorry, oh, I thought we were done.
All right, so highways and streets, there we go. What number?
192, sand and gravel.
Yeah.
700.
I know that yes, I mean, he's doing a lot of the projects himself.
No doubt about that.
And I know that we also had to put some gravel down, by the boat launch. That's the town's responsibility to buy the gravel, but the gentleman who lives up there spreads it out. That's kind of been a gentleman's hand agreement for a long time. Because when it does, I mean, that's his road to go to his house, and when, there's a lot of activity by the boat launch.
I mean, it's
so-
not over that much. and
No.
He's doing a real
But
good job.
he is, yeah, they both are.
I think they did some of that
Really
on the
good.
highway,
Really good job.
yeah, when they were doing the paving. I think some of that might have come out of there too.
It might, gravel for the
Yeah.
paving,
Yeah, for the gravel.
Yeah, so, but I don't think that we need to be too alarmed by that,
No, no.
because I think most of his projects are
Oh, yeah.
done now, so. But yes, we knew that he was doing more than we had budgeted for. I think everything else looked up. Street sweeping, just to let you know, we have to do it twice a year now due to stormwater. And we have to do, I'm not gonna go there.
I can say something about the street sweeping, it probably we'll have to do it one time, and then we'll document, as part of the stormwater committee, we'll document that it doesn't need to be done, because we're not using gravel or
Right.
sand on the roads, so once we can document that, we probably won't have to continue doing that
Twice a year. We'll
twice a
have to
year.
do it once a year, though, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, but now we have to do it twice
But
to
that's,
have that
I think that's a
documentation.
one-time
Yeah,
thing.
How does the state get away without doing it?
you know I ask that question every time, I can't even go there because they tell me I can't do that. But state roads, we still have to do it, so I'm not happy by that, but anyway. Oh, that's the catch basin cleaning though, that's not the sweeping. They do their own sweeping. It's the catch basin cleaning. We have to, oh, I'm sorry, that was twice a year too, for stormwater. Because they're just doing the second, which we have to do state roads as well. But again, he's in pretty good shape. I mean, I believe most of his road maintenance and resurfacing is, all the bills are in, I believe, so. Again, they did an amazing job down on Sligo, which I'm sure we have some happy Sligo people. So the plan is next year, hopefully to do the other half of Sligo, is what they're talking about now, so. But, and some top coating.
We'll hear about that next week, I imagine.
What's that?
We'll hear about that next week, I imagine.
Yes, yes.
That's the first budget.
Right.
I have a question about tree maintenance. Is there a maintenance, it's line 191. Are you planning to do some?
No, I don't know.
Sure, what line are you looking at?
191.
191, we haven't spent any of it.
There were a lot of dead trees at one point. I know there was a backlog and we were
Well, I
building
know,
up the budget in order to sort of take care of the dead trees.
I know that they had talked about some of them, and I thought that, I don't know if they're waiting for some help, because some of them is beyond their abilities. But I will ask that question because I don't know. We've talked about some, but I just.
Is that outsourced or is it done?
They can do some themselves, small, no power lines, you know, that kind of stuff, which they've done. But there are some that, I think it's either General John or Main Street along the cemetery area, I think was one of them. And they've got some power lines involved and I don't think that they can do that,
Yeah.
so, no, they just do
Okay.
the basics.
If the tree falls down, they'll cut it up.
Exactly, exactly. But, yeah, I'll find out about that. All right. Sanitation, yeah, the supplies one, I have a note here, not sure you need Caroline info, so I'm gonna have to get back to you because I didn't catch that before. I knew we bought something expensive and I don't remember what it was. I'm gonna have to get back to you on that, so I will get back to you on why it's so much. Conferences and dues, both Ed and George have gone to conferences and but I think that is done now, so I don't think we're gonna see any more on that. We do have some issues with our intake of recycling and trash. It's much more, it's higher than what we budgeted for. We are, applied for a grant to have a scale put down there so we can start weighing our demo to get a better understanding of if our prices are good. If not, I mean, then we're gonna be able to get what it actually will cost. So we, actually, I think we're supposed to find out either yesterday or today, if we got the grant. Scale, we're looking at a scale with a printout, so then you can get a receipt from them on what you pay. So we're just trying to understand, because everyone knows about the recycling part of some of it is costing us more than it is, you know, so we don't know. But they are getting money for glass and the cans of tin. So he actually just turned some money in for some of the recycling. It's just the plastic is one of them a little
Do we get
difficult.
money in for aluminum cans too, or just?
Yeah,
Aluminum.
yeah,
Yeah,
aluminum.
I thought
So, they're doing a good job about compacting them and,
Cardboard and paper,
cardboard.
is that a cost or is that a wash?
It's pretty much a wash, it's not, we're not, I don't think we're making much on the cardboard if it's, it's little. But, you know,
Yeah.
the flip side of whether or not you put it in
We're
the
not
office,
paying
so
them.
we're not going to do that, but, I mean, I don't think, what's that?
We're not paying to get rid of it anyway, so
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's, instead of tipping fee of X
Yeah.
amount plus,
Yeah.
plus
Yeah.
all line.
But we are paying to get rid of the plastics right now because the price is so low, are we not?
no, we're putting, we're chipping it and putting it in containers and storing it.
Storing it, why?
We are getting money on plastic, it's just not very much money.
So I know the other towns, I brought this up before, Hooks had found out that they were taking the same materials from plastics in their town and taking it to the dump because it was $175 for them to dump the plastic, to pay for recycling. And it was like $75 to just dump it. And they found out that the hauler was actually charging them $175, and yet they found the plastic was being just thrown in the dump.
No, we're chipping it and we're selling it. There's certain, numbers on the containers that are worth more than the others, but you do not have to separate them, is what they're telling me. But it's a good, put your questions down and ask them next week when they come and present, because they're doing everything they can to make it not so expensive. It's more, I think what our costs are is our, demo stuff. That's the worst. That's what we're not getting enough.
No one wants it.
And one of the
Well,
things.
no, but we're not getting enough money to take it. That's the difference, and one couch.
Reimbursable
Right.
part.
Right, right,
Right.
one couch weighs this, but, this one could weigh twice as much and you're paying the same thing. So that's what we need to reevaluate, and that's why we said we would try to do it with the scales.
How much does that scale like that cost?
I think it was 1,600, is it, do you remember?
That's cheap if it's 1,600.
It wasn't,
And it was totally
was
covered?
that
There's 20,
2,000?
22 or 24.
Yeah, but the end was gonna be.
Yeah, it's half
with
of
a
that,
half
half of
rebate,
that.
yeah.
The original
yeah,
price is
so-
22 or 24.
Yeah, so
So
we
it paid
get
for
half
itself
on
in
it.
short time.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then it's gonna be fair to everyone in town of what
Mhm.
you're gonna pay.
I'm assuming it's a drive-in, drive-off scale.
It-
No?
Yeah, they have to weigh it.
Yeah, they're gonna weigh
It
it.
has to be a drive-in, drive-off, otherwise how else do you measure weight?
Well,
You're
they're gonna
gonna load
unload
it.
it with
You're gonna
a
unload it.
fork.
It's quite awful slow.
Yeah, but I don't think they have that kind of
Yeah.
volume on
Yeah.
a day-to-day, I mean, if you wanna get rid of it,
Saturdays
you're
is
gonna have
gonna
to
be the
wait.
worst.
Yeah, but they're gonna, yeah,
You're gonna take it off and put it in a bobcat or something.
right, right. Put it down, weigh it, and that's,
So,
yep. So, okay, so we're working on what we can do with recycling and MSW waste. Let's see, general assistance, not doing too bad. I mean, we have some expenses, but we're holding it tight if we can. Parks and Recreation, they came under a little bit on their revenue. So I think it was like $5,000 that will have to come out of taxation. And I know that it's been advertised that it's possibly not going to be going forward. We need to make more decisions on that. We did have a public hearing,
Just
last night, yes, yeah. So, I'm hoping we can work through it and keep it going. I think it's good for our kids. But we'll just have to see. But it was a successful program this year as well, just, we're a little over, yes.
we're over, Parks and Recreation bottom line is 84%. And are we pretty much, I mean, is that really off? Because we're almost
Well, the 84%, it's based on what we received in revenue is what I'm saying. The revenue was off. They may
So
not have
revenue was
spent their
off.
whole budget, but the revenue didn't, they weren't supposed to be
Didn't
trying to be
compensate as much as we thought, so.
revenue neutral, but, they were off like $5,000, so it was more like, you know,
They brought in 47.
47 something.
Gotcha.
But, yes.
I have a question about team campaigns,
Yeah.
on 245. Are there expenses yet to hit, or are they rolled into summer day camp?
You know, I don't know. They certainly should have all the expenses in, so let me find out.
Yeah, in June it was 15.9. It was for teen camp, and now it's 0.
Yeah, I don't know what that, it certainly happened and it certainly have expenses, so I'll find out 14. Okay, all right, library seems to be right on target, and the bottom line, and the other committees that, we haven't done some of them, we tend to just wait to the end of the year for those. So that's where we stand.
Any more questions on
Just a quick one on the executive office.
Yep.
Is the administrative support personnel, is that the town administrator,
And Chuck, if the,
number 4?
that is Chuck and Caroline,
Okay.
right? Wait a minute, let me see, wait a minute, no, administrative support. It's not enough. Oh, yeah,
Says it's approved
yeah,
for-
yeah, 60, and then there was the new position that was hired. Yeah, her salary is 60,000, and then the balance is for, and also, Salme's in there, the secretary to the select board.
Okay,
So it's 3 positions in that line.
okay. It just doesn't quite make sense on that line, number 4. All right,
What doesn't make sense?
I guess nothing, I'm just trying to figure it out. I'm good.
Okay. All right, any other questions? All right, hearing none, I will make sure that you guys get your notes next couple of days with some answers. Do you want to talk about revenue? I mean, I'll do the best that I can.
I got one question.
Yeah.
On business license and permits,
Here's your question on the,
revenue.
on revenue.
Yeah.
Good.
Yes.
So we're up to revenue.
Okay, you've got, let's see, 598,987.
I told you, don't look at the one I sent you,
Oh,
that was
okay.
incorrect.
So that should be,
The one that,
Yeah,
there's a few
okay.
floating around
I didn't
that are
see the
correct.
correct,
It
that
is
should be
now,
250.
it's now $250,
Yeah, I
it
got
was
it.
a formula
No, I
error.
didn't get that, one. I got the old one.
I'll make sure that she sends it out to everyone, the
Okay.
updated one. Yeah, there was a few formula issues, but I think, one of the things that we had, the sale of municipal property, the 21,800, that's the sale of the dump truck from the highway barn. And I don't know if you have any questions, you certainly can email me too, and I will, yes.
I do have like a big picture question. So the anticipated revenue, which was used to sort of balance things out and anticipate tax increases back in March meeting, was 1.5 million, correct?
Mhm.
And now the anticipated revenue has been revised downward by 40,000, looks like.
Mhm.
So that will have an impact on the tax rate.
Right,
Unless unexpected revenue comes in.
well, we
So-
do have some unexpected revenue that is on this report, but one of the things that, the police have not had their contracted services that we projected them to have, so that is lost revenue.
So-
It was reported.
So is the board concerned, or is the board thinking about maybe trying to cut down on the expense side of the appropriation, so when it comes times to do the tax rate, there'd be some fund balance that you might use to help with this shortfall, anticipated
Well,
shortfall.
it's not as much of a shortfall, because there are the others that were projected that we're getting far more. For instance, interest on investments, I have to say, our treasurer is doing an amazing job.
But I'm looking at, maybe I'm not being clear, I'm looking at the bottom line.
I know, but I'm telling you, there are other places here that you're getting more than what we budgeted or
Right,
projected.
but overall, if we're, unless I'm really not understanding, overall, what we had anticipated was 1.5 million, what we're looking at now, even
Is
with.
14,
is-
yeah.
So there's going to be a,
shortfall.
shortfall, yes, that will either come from taxation
Mm-hmm,
or fund balance. So
Mhm.
I was wondering, if the board is talking about this and talking about maybe trying not to spend, I'll just say spend down the budget on the expense side, in order to have money in fund balance that would help with the
Mhm.
tax rate.
yeah, I mean, we look at it all the time, but, have we made a decision that it's absolutely not gonna go, we haven't made that
No.
decision. But we are looking at it and when deferring some expenses, if we can,
Yeah,
yeah.
thank you.
Well, there's also time to make it up in the end of the year, right? You're talking $40,000, that could change between now and the end of the year, right? It could be 10,000 by then,
Exactly, right.
right? I'm just making sure I understand your
No, I
question.
don't know, I mean, I don't know, this is the best guess, I'm sure this is the figure that you talked about with the DRA. So this is the best guess that we think we're going to get in. Now, could it change? Yeah, but
So then it could change to be 60,000.
yeah, right, it could not, you're right, because the building permits could not, because this is a slow time for building permits, and the building permits are at, we budget, anticipated 34,000, we brought in 23. We're still using 34,000 to build that bottom line there, but, you wonder if, in fact, we'll get that much in building permits in that
Well,
regard
I'm
year.
telling you.
So, I mean, is it likelier that it's even less than 1.491? Maybe. I mean, I'm not sure that I would be confident saying it could possibly be more unless, there was some big person who gave us some money.
Best educated guess.
Yeah.
That's a corrected report. This is the corrected report.
The one that I had on the table is the corrected
Yeah.
report, the one you got via email is not, and I'll have it sent to you tomorrow.
Now, why did hydro revenue get moved to other? Second page,
That's correct.
yeah. Didn't it used to be a separate line item?
It is.
Yeah.
It's just on, it's I'm sorry.
Go
Yeah,
ahead, go ahead, you have the
It's the
answer.
detail under either
I'm not seeing it.
Second page.
miscellaneous revenue. other-
Yes, it's under other now.
Yeah, it was always,
I thought it was
when we
separate.
built, when you,
Yeah, I know
you'll
it is.
see it, you'll
Yeah.
see it when, there are other tabs that are kind of like
Yeah.
follow this.
Okay.
And so at a high level, you don't see the individual
Okay.
thing, but. There
Right.
it is.
As long as it was highlighted by itself so we could see how much we're getting from hydro. I know it's gone down.
I think we should make sure that we see that when we're talking at that level for the budget, absolutely.
Yeah.
Is it still going down? Even with the new offer?
Yeah, I will, I'll talk to Caroline about that. All right,
Are we ready to move on to the next?
Thanks, Denise.
you're welcome.
Thank you, Denise.
You're welcome.
So, next on the list, first quarter, Emily, you're up.
Great. Before I get to the budget that I sent to you all, I have some information on last year's budget, the closing figures. They are unaudited figures, and this is for the fiscal year that ended June 30th, 2019. We had approximately $330,000 in unexpended funds in the operating budget. The majority of that was due to special education savings at Marshwood because, as we've talked about before, We did not have a great system in place for ensuring that we were being billed in the right increments to be able to budget accurately. So we have been working on that with our special ed people. We expect that to be much more accurate this year and then even more accurate next year. So of that 330,000, about 100 of that went to warrant articles. So we had $75,000 that went into the building fund and $22,000 that went into our tuition fund. So we estimate that we're gonna have about 230,000 to return to the town this year. So that is good news for everyone.
Thank you. Shortfall.
Yeah. There's,
There
yeah.
it is, so we're
It's
just-
that.
Hey,
So we'll more than make up for anything that the town needs.
Plus the 200,000 they cut from the budget from the previous year.
Yeah, right? It keeps going down, we're working on it,
You're
right?
doing an awesome job.
Thank you. And Joe, to your question, the, from a couple months ago, so why can't I think of the word? Benefits. Thank you. The benefits, related to the salaries, that is just a function of it being what it is. We, have, in the last contract, we whittled down the percentage that the town pays of our benefits to teachers.
So the, medical
Yeah.
and retirement?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, we're working on, we have been over the past couple of years working to lower our medical insurance, the amount that the town, has to cover of that. So, again, that's something that's going down and, we'll see, hopefully it will continue to. But that's
Just reiterate the question that Joe had, so I'm not sure. Joe's question was, why is the percentage of benefits high compared to the salaries? And what you're saying is that's basically saying, it could be that the salaries
negotiation,
of teachers
yeah.
are generally low, so if you're comparing it to
Yeah.
industry, it might be a different
Mhm.
related
Mhm.
percentage. Is that right? Or am I getting that right?
Yeah. They also have a good benefits package, so.
Which makes up for the.
Right, exactly. Okay, so on to the budget that I sent over to you. We included in there Katie's overview of it. I'll just go through it, but currently we have about $90,000 of savings from salaries and benefits because of changes in staffing that we made this past year. We do have one position open for, I believe it's a mainstream coach, so that will probably go down a little bit once we hire that person. We do have differences in revenue, however, so we have, a good thing is that we'll have kindergarten fully covered this year because of the new budget got passed at the state level. So we've been having partial funding for our kindergarten through the Keno plan, but now it's a fully funded kindergarten, so that will be a good thing for us. That we'll be keeping in mind for next year's budget. And then we also have some Medicaid reimbursement changes that we don't know what that effect is gonna be for us, so we're definitely keeping an eye on that. Currently, we're expecting about $20,000 in additional revenue, but it will totally depend on what we find out about the Medicaid.
Do you have a likelihood, I mean, is it likely to go up or likely to go down? Do you know?
We're hoping down, but we really don't know. I think we
Hoping
should.
down, likely up.
Yeah, yeah, right. We should have that soon. I think today, actually, our business administrator was meeting with people to try and figure out what all the changes mean for us. So I really couldn't say with any level of confidence. So you'll notice in this budget too that we usually have encumber the tuition money that we spend for Marshwood. We hadn't received a bill from them yet at the time of this budget. So our business administrator has not yet encumbered that fund. We expect that it will be a little bit lower than what we budgeted for because we have fewer students than what we initially budgeted for. So overall, we expect that we're doing fine now, we expect we will continue to be doing fine, if not a little bit better than we are today, so. So that is that, and
Because salaries, isn't that too, because we had 2 teachers retire?
yes, we had 2 teachers retire and we hired new teachers and there were salary differences there. And then we also, we had budgeted for this mainstream coach that we're hiring for now. We didn't need it at the beginning of the year and we have, the administrators of the school have found a need for that position now. So they are hiring for it, so we have a little savings there in salaries.
Is there a number amount on what we said in the call in kindergarten?
I don't know it.
Okay.
And I don't know, Katie didn't tell us a specific number, which tells me she probably doesn't know the specific
Just
number yet.
curious.
Because normally she would. Seeing as, you know, what is it, 86% of our budget is contractual, I generally don't go through it line by line.
You don't need to.
So, does anyone have any specific questions that I can answer for you? Again, things look really good. We expect them to continue on that way. Charlie,
2:30 back. He said
come on.
Special ed to
2:30 back to the town, he doesn't know anything.
Special ed to Summersworth
Is that, I don't mind the paying it. Is that student about ready to age out? You don't know? Okay. No,
Yes,
no,
Sorry.
no,
Yep.
I didn't think you
Except,
could.
you talk about it, so.
Doesn't mean you can't ask.
No,
Any other questions on the school budget?
And just a comment about the repairs to the exterior building, the cupola, spelled cupola in the report somewhere.
Not all
It
fixed
looks
up.
really
No,
lovely.
Francis.
I like the cupola, it just looks great.
Doesn't it? I know.
And the front
yeah.
steps, it's just so
Wonderful.
nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah, with the whole new front steps are all.
How
in.
recent is that? How recent is
Over
that?
the summer they did it,
Oh,
yeah.
cool.
You should see the inside too. We got a tour, not last month, but the month before. And so we put in all new flooring in the main building. And it just, you walk in and it's like it's a completely different place. Everything is brighter and bigger looking and it looks wonderful, yeah. And the gym floor, they sanded it down to the wood and refinished it.
Nice.
It's an entirely different color. It's amazing. Yeah. Our facilities manager is doing a spectacular job. And again, similar to our higher ed department, doing a lot of things himself and saving the town a lot of money by doing that. So, yeah.
last page.
Yeah.
State ed transportation. We budgeted none for the middle, elementary. And
Tell me where you are.
last page,
Last page.
27, 22.
There we go, 27, 22.
There was none budgeted and now there's a 44.6. The only question I have, is that a one-time or is that gonna continue to increase?
My guess would be that's a one-time. I'm pretty sure that we just get billed yearly for all of our transportation, but I can certainly find that out for you.
I'm good.
Any other questions for school budget? All right. I think you move on to,
Thanks, Emily.
yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Emily.
It's your turn, Bob.
I'm gonna defer it to Vern on most of the money stuff because he's the expert in the area. Does everybody have a copy of this themselves?
Yeah, the next one.
You did?
You wanna
Thank you.
pull up a chair, Vern? Is that?
Thank you.
Oh, no. You'll,
We'll work it out.
I'm all set. Thank you.
Anybody need it?
I'll take it, please.
Got one left.
You're welcome.
I read it earlier, but.
So which we wanna start with, water or sewer?
Enjoy.
It is water and sewer, so we have to think of this as a unified budget with departments within.
I understand, but what I'm saying is you've got two budgets, two reports, so which report are we looking at?
Actually, what I'd like you to look at is this one.
Okay.
Does it
This-
stay in the top right, because,
It looks distinctly different,
yes, it does.
Oh, yeah.
okay?
Alright,
This comes from our accounting system, and this is based on accrual accounting. And the difference between that and what you see out front, this is cash, make sure I'm getting it, this is cash based. So there's some difference between the two, but,
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what the difference was that you said, Vern.
okay, this is cash based,
Yes,
this is accrual based,
Okay.
which is what we're actually supposed to do.
okay,
Supposed to do accrual based accounting.
okay.
Is that, did you email that to us?
Yes, I did.
Both?
Yeah, there were three files.
Three, okay, I'm sorry, I only opened two, and that's.
Yeah.
Yeah, the same problematic.
Now, the advantage with this report is it also gives you income, it gives you revenue. And it compares it this year versus last year, which I think is the important thing to know. And it provides expense amounts in much greater detail. Okay, the cash basis one, which you see up here, is actually sort of a consolidation of several tabs that go behind it. But this one, from the accounting system, gives it to you in detail by expense item. Now, if we look at the total budget for the district, which is authorized budget, $656,527. We have spent to date, as of the end of September, $511,814, or 77% of our budget. September would be 75% of the year. And things are always, like the town and the school, things
So,
are.
can you- Hold on a second, because
Because I don't have
Yeah, we're not,
that.
we're not seeing
I'm
that.
sorry, what?
we're not following you,
No,
so,
we don't know where the $600,000.
Just look at
Yes, we
this.
see that.
Just
Where's the
look at this.
$600,000?
I thought you were starting with the
Okay,
third
if you
page.
look at total, if you look at, let's look at page one.
Thank you.
is that sewer or water? I just have them,
It's this
It
one.
says
oh,
water.
that.
This is the one he's got.
No, no,
No, he's actually
look
looking
at
at
this.
that. Okay, so we're looking at water, gotcha.
No, very first page,
Okay, got it.
okay? And you see it says monthly total dollars at the bottom in bold.
Yep.
And then you see adjustment. You see that?
344.
686, okay? The 344, 686 on this page is what was voted on by the voters at the annual meeting. That's the number they want for water. You turn the page, and you'll see something similar to that on the sewer side. Wastewater, I'm supposed to say wastewater. And you'll see a number 311,841. If you take those two numbers and add them together,
Yep.
you will come to $656,527. All right?
Okay.
Now go back to the first page, and it says amount spent. Okay? Which is 1, 2, 3, fourth column in from the right. You'll see on the first page, it says 272,051, 051. You there?
Yes.
And that's showing up as being about 79% of budget.
77%. And if you look at wastewater, fourth column in, you'll see 256,015. And you add those two numbers together, okay, and divide it into the total budget, you get a percentage,
Says in the two.
77%.
So when you combine water and sewer, I
These
didn't
are not
check, I didn't check your numbers, but your total spent on water says 79%, and your total spent on sewer says 82%.
Well, no, wait a minute, that's not quite accurate.
Well,
That
that's what it says.
79% actually includes some expenses from October, so you have to back those out. If you look, you'll see there's numbers, these are capital items that were spent.
So,
So this report is through supposedly
Should-
through September,
We're reporting what is through September.
except for the October numbers. Okay,
Right.
gotcha.
So the 79%
Don't look at that.
doesn't really reflect.
Correct.
What you're saying, if you just go through September, then we're at, and you
77.
combine them, we're at 77%.
Actually, you're less than 77% because you take out those items in October that are there.
Well,
There's $597 on wastewater, there's $15,655 in water. You back those out, we're almost exactly 75%.
Okay.
And September, at the end of September, you would have been 75% of your year, so we're on track.
I had a couple of questions. When do you want questions? Because I had a couple of questions about the.
Well, I want to make sure everybody's equal about where are we? What am I talking
I
about?
got it.
Okay? We're all sort of squared away on what I mean by we're at 75% functionally of the year. You all understand how I came to that number? Okay, now question.
Can I ask one more question? Is it next time you guys present this, you can have the actual, like, where we're at, so we can all follow the number, and we don't have to, I mean,
a combined?
yeah, you would normally have, this is where we are, this
I'll
percentage.
dress this up next time.
Yeah, that would be good, thank you.
So
So,
go ahead, Paul.
no, I'm good.
I have a question about line 17. I got a little confused looking at that because.
Which
it,
one?
Line 17 water.
Line 17, water,
Okay.
capital expense
Water,
principal.
yes.
It's, appears to be over budget by $12,000, but it looks like it's like an extra payment. It just, it doesn't look like, you know what you're gonna pay for that.
Now remember, this has got, now if you look at October, on that line,
So 12,000.
actually, capital expense principal line 17 is.
Yes. It's
You'll
projected at
notice the line above it is
48,000
almost
for the
exactly
year.
the same number.
Hmm?
You'll notice the number above it is almost exactly the same number. What happened is, they were categorizing it previously as a principal payment for wastewater, but it didn't belong in wastewater, it belonged in water.
So what was budgeted was 48,000, but should have been 60,000, so it's really not over budget. I think that's just what I'm trying to understand. It doesn't appear to me that that is over budget. It seems as if those payments should have been projected at what they were going to be for the year. There'd be no change in that, because it's, you know.
It should have been,
That's,
they put it in the wrong category when they
I
built
see.
their budget.
okay. So it goes on the sewer side?
It goes on water, you'll see it says minus 12,533 in the last column.
Yep.
You see it's a
Mhm.
minus?
I see that.
Okay, that's because it actually belonged, it was
Should've been
in wastewater, and it didn't belong there, so it had to be shifted over. So it looks like it got overspent, but it didn't really.
So you just increased the budget for that to 60,000 for the year?
We moved it to its proper category.
Okay. all
So
right.
where did it come out of? Where's,
It came out of capital expense,
What line,
Wastewater.
what line?
which would be the wastewater side, wastewater side,
so it would be
which would
the,
be line, I'm having difficulty reading these long.
capital expense principal?
I think it's
yeah,
collection
of
system,
wastewater.
so it would be line 18 on the other
18.
one.
Which,
So
I'd have
that
to go back and trace it back.
10,468 doesn't belong there.
It belonged, it was put in wastewater, it didn't belong there,
okay.
it belonged in water, it was moved over, so it looks like the water side is overexpended on that.
Understood,
And it isn't.
understood.
All right.
But it is by like I mean, if you only
Wow.
took 10,000 out of this and you put 12 in
Yeah, it's like
water, then it is a little overexpended, yeah?
2,500.
But at least it's in the right category.
I'm not saying that, I'm just making sure I'm understanding.
Yeah, I think we're just trying to understand the budget.
Yeah, I got it.
I had another question for you about how you're anticipating legal expenses through the end of the year and how you're compensating in both budgets for the unanticipated overage for that. And I know you have a lot of discretion about how you spend within the line items. I understand that. The legal expense was excessive, and I'm just wondering,
No,
are
it
you
was
expecting,
exactly what it was needed.
well,
But not
wasn't
budgeted.
what budgeted. It was about
Relative to
$1,000 budget.
Yeah, where is legal?
It's
So
on the
that's not my question, I'm not arguing about whether or not we should have spent that money appropriately, it doesn't matter to me. My question is about what is covering that, where is it coming from? So that, are the departments suffering
No.
a hit on this? How are you managing within those line items to cover all that needs to happen within the department?
If you look at line 16 in water, it says miscellaneous expense, $12,000.
Yeah,
As an accountant, I don't like the term miscellaneous expense or income. I want to know where it is and where it came from, but it's there. Now that will buffer part of it. I mean, the town does it too. You know, they run into situations where, oopsie, expenses exceeded, so we've got to move stuff around.
Right, I'm not judging here, I'm asking a question about how you're compensating for the overage, that's all.
I'm looking at the bottom line and I'm watching like a hawk, all the individual
And
items.
absolutely, very good. Are things like testing that needs to be done, is that suffering in any way?
No.
Are there issues within repairs and maintenance that are being neglected
No.
because of the overage there?
No.
Okay. So you're-
Critical functions are addressed.
okay.
I just see you're a little behind schedule on the preventative maintenance, but that, I'm sure that is a matter of, depending on what time of year you're doing it, or your preventative maintenance on the sewer sheet.
Wastewater, did I say wastewater?
It says sewer on the sheet.
Well, actually, we're doing a major upgrade.
I don't call it.
We're doing a major upgrade there by not needing preventative work, because it's being upgraded, the pump galley is being upgraded.
That thing done?
Yes.
Where did those expenses show up? They're not on this report, that's a
No,
warrant,
that'll have
that
to
was
be
a warrant
footnoted.
article and it's
Oh, yes.
capital.
It'll have to be footnoted down below.
Okay, so none of those expenses are here, because I saw something that looked like it might be, the lines 1, 2, and 3, I'm assuming the pump galley is on the sewer side of this report.
Yes, it's not in the water side.
So these
That's 31.
expenses, the 13,000, the 16,500, is that part of the pump galley project
No,
in 1, 2, 3, and 4?
no.
Oh, okay, so it's not
No.
showing up there.
These are current operational costs. The pump galley upgrade is a warrant
Yeah, I
article,
know.
separate items.
But so,
It won't show up in this, will not. It'll show up as a footnote.
okay.
On the water sheet, below legal, there's Wright, Pierce, and other that
Yes.
are over, can you just, I don't know what Wright,
Well,
Pierce
there's
is,
a combination
and I don't know.
Wright Pierce was, worse than legal.
So,
Part of that was the asset management grant, and it wasn't budgeted into 2019 properly. So it looks like there was a huge expense there, but in fact, it was not. And we had offsetting income, of $20,000, which you don't see here.
This was in the prior year.
It was, the 20,000 came at the very end, and since it lapsed between
Right.
calendar years, the 20,000 came at the very end of this year, but you don't see that as income.
Okay.
But if you come over here to the real thing, you do see it. If you look at
Yes.
grant income, $20,000, it's there. See, this only shows expenses, doesn't show income.
Okay, see that, yep.
I actually had a question about this report too, but I don't want to jump there if people aren't ready to go to that report.
Yeah, so that's the right Pierce line, is
Yes.
what's the other line?
So the grant covered expenses that you hired Wright Pierce to do, is that?
Well, it was $40,000, we paid out all the $40,000.
Okay.
And from 18 and 19, and then at the end of the project, they said, oh, by the way, you haven't filed for your 50% rebate. I said, good, let's have it. And we did. We got it, but it was in 2019, but it was all part of that same entire effort. So we saw expense in 2019 that really started in 2018. You know how that goes.
I do.
I think Angela now's the time to jump.
Perfect. So I'm looking for this and I'm a little confused because I have the budget I have the budget report for 2019 from the annual meeting. And I'm looking at it's the fourth quarter over, Vern, that got me a little bit confused. The
Huh?
year-to-date for 2018 in your report is 281,000 in
669,
income.
yeah.
But the total income for the year was,
What
the total income for last year was 589,447. So I think there's something missing in that column, because when you come to the last page of it,
What
it
report
shows
are you
a
looking at?
deficit.
Wait a minute, no, not that one. What's that other thing you're looking at?
Oh, these are the reports that I got at the annual meeting in March, but the
Wait,
reports,
see it? I'm trying to figure, is it like the 535?
it is the proposed budget and the proposed budget, which has the 2018 information in it. So it's,
I never saw that.
this was from the annual meeting, this is not your report.
May I see it?
Not right now, I just kind of confused about what, this.
Well, I can't give it any validity until I know what it is.
Well, it was, I'm telling you that this is what I received at the annual meeting
Oh.
last year. So if I could have it back.
No.
Because I need to read from it, you've got to give it to me. so I can
Well,
read from
the
it.
total was 287 and this is 281.
But the total for the two budgets, you got both budgets for the water and sewer. So that, I
Yeah.
think what's confusing about your report is that it shows a deficit of 152,000, which I think you've
Yes.
got income missing in that column at the top of page 1. And so I just
No.
it was a little bit confusing, and I'm still confused because it doesn't match up with the annual report.
What I would do is I would not use that report, I would use the 535, which is the DRA form. That gives much more detail.
So did the water sewer department end with a deficit of 152,000? I don't think that looks correct.
Well, what happened, this represents some adjusting entries that were made at the end of 2018. There were some adjusting entries that we made at the beginning of 2019 when the audit is done, which will correct that.
Oh, okay.
There are actually some of this is inherited from 2017.
It just didn't match up with the information that I got at the annual meeting, and I'm trying to make the two reports.
I wouldn't rely on the annual, the DRA reports are the ones I go by.
Are those not handed out at the annual meeting?
The 535 isn't done until the audit is done. You're thinking of the 737, I think. 735?
There's a budget report that's usually
Yeah.
ready for the annual meetings.
Right, that's the 737. I'm trying to remember all my report numbers. That's what I go by.
it looks as if, it only captured one of the two departments. They're about equal, they're about 50-50 of the budget, and it looks like it's either just water or just sewer. But we don't have to continue to obsess about that, I can let that go.
Well, actually, we can refine this to break it out between administration, water, and sewer. I just didn't have time.
Do we have other questions? Vern?
So at our last meeting, there seemed to be a lot of concern that you were not going to stay within budget. Is that, are those still concerns, or there are no concerns to be had?
I'm sorry, there was concerns. We have to stay within a budget, it's required.
Yes, I'm aware of that.
I think what Emily's saying is at the last meeting, we discussed the possibility, I don't know what information we had for it, that there were going to be a lot more expenses going forward this year than there were last year. And we just wanted to know if you were going to prepare us for that in the upcoming budget.
We're going to formulate a different type of budget for next year. We're going to do a capital, a SIP, we're gonna do a SIP, we're gonna lock money into capital improvement.
Okay.
We've already locked in 2 capital reserve accounts, so it can't be used for anything but capital items.
Is that new to the water district?
Yep.
Did it actually happen?
What?
Has it happened?
What has happened?
Your 2 established capital?
Yes, the 2 capital reserve accounts are established.
They were voted on at the water district meeting?
No, we don't need the annual meeting to do it.
Do you have money in them?
Yep, $10,000
Did you
each.
call a municipal association?
Yes, we did, and we have a letter from Steve, what's his name? Well, whatever, Steve, saying, yes, you're absolutely right, you can do it this way.
Okay.
Oddly enough, only a village district can do it, selectmen can't,
Mhm.
unfortunately. But we are going to lock up money into capital improvement.
So you've actually set it up, and you've actually transferred funds into those capital reserve.
Their capital reserve, not SIP, they're not SIP,
No, they're-
that we're going to create next year. We're gonna
And bring
block
to the
money up
annual
for
meeting.
capital improvement, and that will have to be done at the annual meeting with a warrant article.
But you could, by asking the voters, transfer money from these capital reserves into that SIP fund.
We wanna keep them separate because, for instance, we can, and we will, we're going to withdraw 5,100 from the wastewater capital reserve account to pay for engineering drawings for the pump galley. And because we created it out of last year's fund balance, it doesn't affect this year's cash flow or surplus, which there isn't.
So, I'm just curious, I'm gonna miss something, did you say you're gonna pay $51,000 for engineering?
5,100,
Oh,
sorry.
5,100, okay.
Well, we're probably gonna pay 50,000 for all the pumps and pipes and all that stuff, but that comes out of fund balance.
Or warrant article, it came from a warrant article that we
Yes.
voted on in March.
Yes, but you gotta pay for it with something, so it comes out of fund balance.
But it's there, and it was approved at the annual meeting, so it's great.
Right. It was authorized, and I gotta make sure people understand, it was authorized, not mandated.
Oh, that's
Just so
that's what I
we're
understand
clear.
about warrant articles.
Do we have any other questions?
I got a question, I just wrote this number down, because maybe I'm not familiar with it, but other budgets we see like 17, 18, and 19, so this one we just have 19, is $9,841 for legal normal, or does that exceed, like, if we went back 2 or 3 years ago with the legal
No.
problems that, so legal is something new, can someone explain what that means then, $10,000
Actually,
for town money?
20,000, that's 10,000 in just one budget.
So
I-
I'm just
I
curious,
can-
I'm just curious, because I'm not sure what that means, legal. Somebody suing the town?
district.
the sewer district.
Someone suing the sewer district?
No, but that's, the
No,
district
town
has.
has
That's what I meant, I didn't mean the town, I'm sorry. Sorry about that.
Not me, not me.
Relax.
Denise, what are you doing?
I'm waiting for.
No, sorry, go ahead.
We had to address some rather serious personnel issues, and we had a right-to-know request that required some rather extensive research on the part of our attorney.
Okay. Wow, that seems like a lot. Okay.
Well, it was a lot of personnel problem.
I don't even know the personnel problem and stuff, I'm just asking why there was $10,000 spent for
Well,
legal.
I can't tell
And
you
if that's
more
gonna-
than
if that's gonna be a continuing
No,
situation, you know.
Nope.
Okay. That's all I got, no.
Anybody else?
motion to adjourn? How do you like that?
I don't think you can make a motion.
I represent ex officio.
I think Bob, I think you're just sitting and hoping to make a presentation. But either way, is there any other business?
Make a motion to adjourn.
So, just a review for next week, it's highway and CIP, is that?
Next week is highway and CIP. Correct.
I will be reporting to
And
Duke.
I won't be here, so.
We have
Who's doing CIP? Are you doing it? Am I doing it?
I'd be happy to do, I would be happy to do it.
I need to get that confirmed
Because
because
I don't know that the board may.
we haven't even, we haven't, yeah, I have to look into that.
Okay. Sorry, we're just having a sidebar
Sorry.
conversation.
Sorry.
That's okay. Any other business that anybody had?
Just, could we have at that next meeting the updated schedule?
Yes.
Okay, with
well,
those various meeting
We're
purposes.
still working out what that schedule is, I think, because we have to confirm that.
Yep,
Oh,
yeah, we are.
I will make sure.
Emily's gonna get it done, and
That's
they're gonna get it done
So
before
why-
we left.
Wednesday.
Yeah, why don't you and I just send me an email when
Yeah.
you've got that sorted out, and I'll adjust and circulate the budget, or the schedule.
She's gonna meet with the school board and get it done before the 11th, right?
Of course I am.
Great. All right.
So the budget, we'll have the number, we'll have the sheets before the meeting, like as an email or something for the highway and the city.
Yeah, that's not something that has been done. Will there be a presentation, from each department head as to what their budget is ahead of time to review? Or is it just going to be, they'll come and present, here's what our
Thank you,
budget
Brian.
is for highway, or here's what our budget is for.
It's always been that day, I
Yeah.
thought, but,
That's a good point, it would, whoever.
It would be, I
It
thought
would
the
be
same
helpful
thing.
to have them ahead of time, I agree, it's conventionally not the case, so if we could maybe like work
Even in the
toward-
morning or.
work
or the
towards
night
that,
before, yeah.
maybe not this year necessarily, but I mean, it is helpful for the committee, I think, to be
Yeah.
able to
Absorb.
formulate,
I'll see what I
yeah.
can do.
You're not hearing it for the first time, so you
no,
sort of-
I got it, I'll see what I can do. On our side, no. Yeah.
All right.
It was me.
Any other
Yeah.
questions? Do I have a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second from, look at Charlie the second. Any, all in favor?
Aye.
Great.
Good job.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Remember next time, so.
So,
Oh, you're welcome.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Very grateful.
Yeah, I did hear that.
You accept it or?
Eversource.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like it.
Robocall.
We're meeting tomorrow night.
Well,
I'm serious about tomorrow night. Yeah.